So today we've heard a lot about the networking side of things, and we wanted to go back into a little bit more details of where we think that our data center fit in that whole interconnectivity. So if you look on the right-hand side of the slide, you've got, obviously you can see clouds, which is the new technology, but the old way of transporting data and the best way to transport data was on USB sticks and so on and so forth. Why we think that data center are so important these days and where we think we fit in that world is we've heard earlier on about how important the millisecond of round-trip delay is, and having carriers, networks, eyeballs, communities, clouds, and everything in one data center makes the interconnectivity, the round-trip delay, and so on much faster. So when you look at what we see ourselves as a shipping company. So we help the content providers, the network, content delivery network, and so on, to put everything together under one roof. So everything going mobile as well at the moment, so we also work quite closely with mobile operators to get all that traffic shipped across. So we wanted to give you a bit more background, obviously being with Netnod and being working quite closely with Netnod, to give you a little bit more background on where we see ourselves fitting in the Nordics. So we have, as you can see, we have 11 countries where we're present, 13 cities, and we have a few stronger points than others where the connectivity and where the content/traffic is exchanged. So Frankfurt is our number one location in terms of carriers' presence and traffic being exchanged. But Stockholm is a very close partner for so on, and also is a very important location for us as being a gateway to Russia, to the Baltics, and also to mainland Europe and the rest of the world. As we can see, within less than 30 milliseconds, we can reach over 80% of the European GDP market. So just to give you a bit more background on what I mentioned about the gateways, so we have a few gateways, as of what we call gateways in our market, where we see the focal point of the traffic being exchanged. So our number one gateway is a place called Marseille in France. Nothing to do with the fact that it's a lovely city, because it's unfortunately not very nice. But a lot of sea cables are landing there. So there's a new model of sea cables, which is what we call open access sea cables, where instead of having one landing stations, very expensive backhaul cost to then go and use the capacity on the sea cables, there's two new sea cables called CME-5 and AAE1 that land in those facilities, and you can just literally, with a cross-connect, go and connect to the sea cables. So reducing the round-trip delay quite a lot, but also the cost of accessing the sea cables. We have a place called Vienna, which has been a quite focal point for our Central European partners, where we exchange quite a lot of traffic between, so the Serbian, for example, Internet Exchange is present there as well, and so on. So that's quite important. Dublin, of all places, I'm sure you're all aware, that's where most of the big content providers landed in Europe as a first start. Nothing to do with the fact that European Union gave them a very good incentive on tax, but that was one of the first points that they landed. And obviously the most important one, and what we're here today, is to talk about Stockholm. So Stockholm is, for us, we see that as the gateway to Russia, but also the gateway to the whole of the Nordics. So we have a presence in Copenhagen, but we see Stockholm, and I'll show you in a minute with some statistics, we see Stockholm as a crucial point of exchanging traffic, but also traffic being generating from Stockholm and then going to other places. So with further ado, I will bore you with some statistics. So this is all traffic on the routes between Stockholm, Copenhagen, Stockholm, Helsinki, Frankfurt, Moscow, Amsterdam, and London. We can see there's a very high peak around 2014, which is when we saw a lot of content providers suddenly realizing how important the Nordics were, and they decided to choose Stockholm as the main point of place to actually settle for traffic distribution in Europe, in the Nordics. As you can see, the colors between London and Copenhagen are a bit blurred, but as you can see, the traffic exchange with places like Moscow is growing rapidly and so on, and that curve from 2014, as I said, is quite crucial. So this is per city, and the next graph is per regions. So we can see Stockholm, the importance of Stockholm for the rest of the world, and how quickly the traffic growth is coming out of. So we got the statistics from telegeography. We tried to get it from some specific carrier partners of ours, but information be quite sensitive, so we got that from telegeography to share with you today. So the other comparison I wanted to make is, I mean, we heard today about Netnod and Copenhagen as the second point of presence, and we are also present in Stockholm, in Copenhagen, but the difference in terms of traffic is quite important. So you can see that the majority of the traffic generated out of Copenhagen goes to Stockholm. So Stockholm is still the main point of traffic exchange for that. And the growth out of Copenhagen is not quite as significant as the rest for us out of Stockholm. And the last part, one of the last parts is also per region. So again, traffic generated to the rest of the world is out of Copenhagen is quite important. So I'm not going to take the whole of my time, which is good because people then can ask a few questions, hopefully, and then we can run ahead again like we did this morning. But what we want to remember out of this graph is, as I said, how important Stockholm is in terms of a focus for us as a data center company to work closely with carrier partners, with internet exchange partners, because the content providers, the carriers and so on, are exchanging huge amounts of traffic from those locations. So our CEO is aware of all those stats and sees Stockholm as a very important point. We keep growing. We have Stockholm 5 now as a data center, and the growth is quite significant. So what we want to remember out of Stockholm is the content providers, as I mentioned, are moving to Stockholm as a priority. But we see Copenhagen with the work that Netnod is doing with comics being rebranded and so on, and try to attract more of you as networks and so on within Copenhagen. I mean, we work with a local internet exchange, which is not quite as active as Netnod, I have to say. So we see Copenhagen as the next place where the traffic growth will be arriving. We get on a regular basis now requests from content providers to settle down in Copenhagen, which hopefully will see a similar trend coming out of Copenhagen in the near future. So, I mean, I don't know if you have any questions. I mean, data centers are quite sort of the background in terms of where the traffic is generated, but we would not exist without partners such as Netnod, all the big carriers that we work with. So it's a quite close relationship with as I said, with all of you, hopefully in the near future. So any questions you have for me? No? Anything? Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.